Alright, so today we're going to talk about pinstriping. So this guy right here is a pin-dashed animal. So you can see the pinning, it's dashed as it goes up. He also carries another trait. He is a reverse pinstripe. So you can get a good look at that. Alright, that dark, he's gone. Right there, that dark outline, that's a reverse pin. So a reverse pin is very different from a pinstripe. This reverse pin is actually affected by the pinstriping. So that reverse pin you see here is a form of tigering. So the pinstripe, the actual pinning, will force that tiger marking, that, the vertical striping, it will force that pattern up, making this dark outline right here. And that's a reverse pin. So you can't have a reverse pin without some form of pinning. Put him back. Alright, so the second gecko here is nearly a full pinstripe, but he would be considered a partial pin because you can see there's a break here and there's a break there. Back in the olden days of crested gecko morphs, he would be considered like a 90% pin, but he's just a partial pin. Very close to being a full pin, but he's not a full pin. So, that pinstriping, he's coming over here. Alright. So that pinstriping are these raised scales. You see that they're raised all right up here on that dorsal? You can see where there are no raised scales. He's a great example for that. You could put him up. Alright, I have two examples here. Let me show these. These are phantom pins. I actually have quite a few phantom pins. So, let's see if we can... You see that raised row of scales. So, phantom pins are pinstripes without that green banding, but they're still pinstripes. So you see here that raised row of scales, and then this one's a little easier to see, it's a darker one. Alright, you can see those raised rows of scales, and you can see there's a break here. So this would be a phantom pin, partial pin. But also, you can see that dark stripe right here. It would also be a reverse pinstripe. So this is a phantom itself, with a phantom pinstripe with reverse pinning. Alright. Okay, now we have our second example of a partial pinstripe on this lily white. You can see the break here. There's a couple of breaks in this little one right here. So what's interesting about this, if you're working with extreme harlequins or the XX harlequins or whatever harlequins, you want to get an animal that is lacking in pinstriping. Either has zero pinstriping or a partial pin. And you can see with this lily white, since it's partial pinning, its pattern is turning out to be more of a extreme harlequin, or maybe you can call it an X line. This guy is only like, you're 12 grams, so it has a lot of room to grow still. But you can see that breaking, and you can see the pattern dripping. So why it's important to know about pinstriping is the fact of when you're working with it and you want a lot of pattern, you need to have an animal with very little pinstriping to no pinstriping. And see, this is an animal right here that doesn't have a lot of pinstriping, and that pattern is breaking up. The pattern's bleeding in, it's moving up. And those previous examples that you saw with the reverse pinstripe. That reverse pinstriping, even though it's technically not, the reverse pinstriping is not pinstriping in itself, but that pinstriping influence forces that reverse pinstriping up, getting rid of pattern, or suppressing it and moving it upwards. It's fighting the pattern. So you want an animal that has partial pinstriping to no pinstriping so it doesn't fight the pattern. That's how you get some of the best extremes and the best looking XX lines. And here's an example of a little lily white male that's developing a lot of bleeding in the pattern. A lot of the patterns slowly moving up. And again, this guy's still very young and not even fully fired up. Oh, he's going away.